It's no secret that Hunt Showdown is a difficult game to play. In gunfights, you'll get punished for the most simple mistakes. My name is BertieZ, and this video will aim to help you improve on the PvP aspect of Hunt Showdown. We will cover 5 tips that will make you more confident when fighting, and I recommend watching the whole video because implementing even just one of these tips into your games could be what you need to get to that next level. The tips in this video will help you dominate servers by using game knowledge to your advantage. Timestamps will be in the description if you need to come back and refresh on specific tips, and be sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next video in this series coming soon. With that said, let's get into it. My first tip in this video will help you understand how to use the map to track player movements with an educated guess. It is important to know and memorize the spawning areas for both maps. This website gives great visuals to different parts of each map, and you can toggle between settings to see exactly what you're looking for. I will be leaving this website in the description down below. Use this site to get a better understanding of where teams could spawn. By knowing the starting points of each team, you can now use the in-game map to see how players will move from clue to clue. Once an area is blacked out, you can now infer at least one team will be moving to a specific direction. For example, if you're in a single bounty game, and the first clue blacks out the lower half of the map, you now know the teams to the south will be moving north. The map will change the same way for every team after every clue. Knowing this allows you to make an educated guess to track players from their spawn location without ever seeing or hearing them. Keep this tip in mind when choosing which compound to move to next. This tip will help you get the first shot off on other players. Tip number 2 sounds simple but happens very often to new players, and that is to not tunnel vision onto one person. If you focus all of your attention onto one opponent, you will more likely than not die to his teammate or even another team approaching. When fighting, it is very important to keep track of where the enemy team is at all times. This means keeping tabs on both players if you're in a duo lobby. Flanking is a very strong technique used in fights. This is where one player will sneak up from a new direction to get a surprise attack. And if you tunnel vision too hard onto one enemy, you will die to the flank. Depending on the situation, it could be best to rotate your shots between both players to make sure one person won't attempt to flank. You want to keep your focus on the opposing team while at the same time paying attention to the game as a whole. New players often get caught up in the intense gunfights and won't see what's around them. For tip number 3, we will talk about positioning when you're up against 2 different teams. The worst possible position you can be in is when you're sandwiched in between 2 teams. You never want to be caught in the middle of multiple teams. Constantly rotating and planning your positioning is the best way to avoid this. Let's say you're fighting one team already and you hear another approach you from behind. You have 2 good options of what to do next. The first step is to put yourself in a triangle position, sort of like this. Pulling to one side will keep you from becoming the middle party in a fight. From this position, you now have 2 options. You can rotate yourself in an area that would put one of the other teams in the middle, becoming the sandwich team. Your second option would be to commit to one team and kill them before taking on the second team. You can do this by an aggressive push or by a silent rotation to an advantage point. Of course, this all depends on the area, the weapons you have, and the weapons the opponents have. This topic really requires its own video to go further in depth. If that is something you would like to see, let me know in the comments. However, I believe this short discussion should be a good starting point to think about positioning more. The main takeaway from this tip is to always be aware of where you are in relations to the opposing teams. The past few tips will take some practice before you see improvement, but the next couple tips are ones you can start using in your very next game. Tip number 4 is to use your consumables. I play a good amount of games with random players, and you would be surprised how many of them hold on to different consumables during fights. Do not be scared to throw a grenade or flash bomb. These items are very cheap and can be found in orange containers all over the map, or even when looting dead hunters. Let's say your dynamite doesn't cause direct damage to an enemy, but if you're still able to clear an area or force a player to reposition to a different area, then the dynamite has served its purpose. Explosives are also great ways to clear out compound campers. Throwing a consumable is the best way to cause chaos before pushing in. Holding onto an explosive and then dying is the only time a consumable is useless. It is better to miss the dynamite kill and cause pressure than to not use it at all. The last tip I have for you is to master a weapon. When you learn how to use one gun really well before moving on to other weapons, you will be able to carry your PvP skills to those other guns faster. If you're the type of player that goes from a Sparks to a Romero to a Lebel after every game, you will have a hard time improving your PvP skills. The best thing to do is to have one go-to weapon where you can grow your skills in Hunt and not have to think about how to control the gun. Just as an example, my go-to gun is the Mosin. It's my most used weapon and has become second nature when I use it. I don't have to ever worry about how to use my weapon, and I can instead use that time to think about my positioning or my next move. I recommend finding a weapon that fits your playstyle and use it often. You will find that once you become familiar with the weapon, your PvP skills will transfer to other guns very easily. And lastly, the best piece of advice that I have for you is to seek out fights. Running towards shots instead of away from shots will help you gain more experience in fights. It is the only real way to improve. If you need more practice, I recommend watching my quick play video. The video goes over how to use quick play to improve as a player in Hunt. My advanced PvP guide will be up in the coming weeks, so be sure to subscribe, you don't want to miss it. Thank you all for watching. I will be leaving my Discord in the description. If you found this video helpful, be sure to drop a like and leave any questions or other PvP tips in the comments. Be sure to check out the video I linked at the end, and until next time, see you guys.